Translations are very important in math for doing word problems. If you can convert a word problem into half mathematical, half English statements, then you're generally going to be a lot more likely to be able to actually solve the word problem, get it into the math statement. That translation is one of the things I see more and more students have difficulty with. So here's a summary of most of the translation words. Sum is addition. Product is multiplication. Don't get those confused. Sum, addition, product, multiplication. Now, if you're adding two things together, order doesn't matter. We say the addition property, or the addition has the commutative property. Same is true for multiplication. 3 times 5 is the same as 5 times 3. Multiplication has the commutative property. But subtraction and division do not have the commutative property. Order matters. 5 minus 3 and 3 minus 5 are two very different numbers. So order does matter with subtraction and with division. The good news with division is that these will always be given to you in the correct order. With subtraction, less than and subtracted from reverse the order. So that'll be something to be careful of. Be aware, and is never an operation by itself. So if you just see and, it's not going to tell you whether it's addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. You have to have some difference, product, quotient, or something else along with the and to tell you what that operation is. So on each of these, we've got 5 and 3. But if we have the sum of 5 and 3, we have 5 plus 3. Difference between 5 and 3, 5 minus 3. Product of 5 and 3, 5 times 3. We won't use a times sign as a general rule, we'll use parentheses. Quotient of 5 and 3, 5 divided by 3, but we also typically won't use the division symbol, we'll write as fractions. Without the operation, sum, difference, product, or quotient, just saying 5 and 3, that doesn't make any sense. So here, translate. The product. What operation is product? Multiplication. So I'm multiplying two things together. The two things I'm multiplying, product of 4 and a number. Product is multiplication, so it's just 4 times the number. I can have a dot between these for multiplication, but if there's not an operation listed, it's understood multiplication. The next three you do want to be careful about, to notice in particular the differences between them. 6 less 2. Less is subtraction. The order does not switch. Order switches with less than and subtracted from. So I have 6 less the 2 I spent. There is my direct translation. Then to simplify, 6 minus 2 is 4. But you do want to go through the step of writing that translation. Don't skip to here. Write the translation out, then simplify. 6 less than 10. Well, I'm going to have my 6, but with less than, that's subtraction, but the order is reversed. 6 less than the 10 I started with. So here's the direct translation, 10 minus 6. Simplifying, 10 minus 6 also is 4. 6 is less than. When you have the is, you're having a sentence. That's this last box. Is for equals, is less than, is more than, and other approaches for inequalities. So with 6 is less than 10, we have the true statement that 6 is less than 10. So be careful. These are all 6, all dealing with the 6 and 2 of them dealing with the 10, but the order matters and we get different statements. Here an inequality, here just arithmetic statements. So be careful with the order and be careful with what is being said. Is less than, less than, less. The product. Product, multiplication. Two things being multiplied. 8 and 3 more than a number. So I have 8 times product multiplication. That's the and telling where the operation goes. I have 8 times a thing. I'm going to need to use parentheses to indicate that that thing is one thing that is being multiplied by the 8. 3 more than. More than is addition. Now, if you have 3 plus the number, that's going to be fine. More than technically reverses the order, and we need to use a variable for the number because we don't get to pick the number. The number may be picked for us at some other point. Product, multiplication, 8, and the thing I'm multiplying, 3 more than a number, more than addition. This is the direct translation. Again, write that step down. Do not try to skip steps. Then to simplify, this has parentheses so it isn't simplified. I'll use the distributive property. 8 times x is 8x. 8 times positive 3 plus 24. So, translation. And then the simplification. With 6, 12 subtracted from. Well, I know I've got subtraction. The question is, where does the 12 go? Well, the two that reverse the order are less than and subtracted from. So 12 is subtracted from. That reverses the order. The 12 goes after the subtraction sign. 12 is being subtracted from twice a number. Twice, 2 times. And I don't know what the number is, so variable. There's my translation, and it is simplified. No parentheses, no like terms. With 7, 4 more than, addition. I'm adding 4 more than. It's more than a product. Product is multiplication. 30 and a number. 30 times a number. Product of 30 and a number. If you'd had 4 plus 30x, I'd be fine with that as well. Addition is commutative. With 8, the sum. Sum is addition. The sum of a number, I don't know what my number is, so I use a variable, and 20 is. Is your equals 15. So there's my direct translation. Now, we'll be solving equations later on, but right here, just by looking at it, I should be able to see what number goes in there to make this a true statement. What plus 20 is 15? Well, negative 5 plus 20 is 15. I owe 5, I have 20, so I have 15. With 9, 4 less than. Less than is subtraction. Less than is one of the two that reverses the order, so I have 4 less than. I have 4 less than something, so I'm going to use parentheses for that something. The difference is subtraction. Order does not reverse with difference. Difference between negative 5 and negative 8. Now, I do have to use parentheses here because otherwise the two negatives get unclear. So this is the translation. Now to simplify, well, negative 5 minus a negative is a positive, plus 8, minus 4. I could not write this down as my first step because that would be a sum of negative 5 and 8, not a difference. So direct translation initially. I owe 5, I have 8, I have 3. 3 minus 4, I have 3, I owe 4, negative 1. Translation, simplification. And here the translation has to look just like this with all of the parentheses. the sum. Sum is addition. The sum of, okay, the first thing I'm adding is the quotient of negative 15 and 5. Quotient is division. Negative 15 divided by negative 5. Again, the fraction bar is an easier way to do your division. So the sum of this and this, quotient, division, negative 36 and 9. Because I'll have these two signs, it's better to have the parentheses here separating. There's my direct translation. Negative 15 divided by negative 5, positive 3. Same sign with multiplication or division, answers positive. Opposite signs, answers negative. Negative 36 divided by 9, 36 divided by 9 is 4, and it's going to be a negative, again, opposite signs. Addition, think money. I have 3, I owe 4, so I owe 1. Again, translation the first thing, simplification going through the steps. With 11, 1/2 of. Of, if we don't have another word in front there, is going to be multiplication. So 1/2 of a number times a number is your equals, negative 6. Translation. Here we have an equation. The equations can be solved. Half of what is negative 6? Well, I'm going to have a negative number. Half of a negative number will be a negative number, and half of 12 is 6. We're just finding the solution to the equation at this point by inspection, by looking at it and seeing what the answer has to be. With 12, 9 decreased by. Decreased by is subtraction. Does it switch the order? Nope, less than and subtracted from are the ones that reverse the order. So I'm starting with 9, and I'm decreasing it by the square of a number. By a number squared. So I'm going to use the exponent for a square, or if it were cubed, exponent would be 3. Be sure your exponent is a superscript, a little bit smaller and higher. And this is simplified. No parentheses, like terms combined. With 13, 7 is more than. Now, if it were just more than, that would be addition. But because we have the is, 7 is more than, that makes it an inequality. 7 is more than the product is multiplication, of a number and 3. Here I am using the dot because in direct translation I've got my number and 3, just going in that order. Rewriting it, I'd say 7 is greater than 3x. And that would be okay for your answer. So would this. %. Well, here we're getting a little bit more interesting where we actually have closer to actual word problems. 30%. For right now, I'm just going to keep that as my percent sign. 30% of multiplication. 30% of the sum, addition. Two things I'm adding, sum of -5 and -3. This is the direct translation. Now, 30% though, we don't want to leave that percent sign in there. When we have percent, we have per cent, a cent representing 100th. So 30% I can write as 30 out of 100, or 0.3 if I prefer the decimal. So I have 30 out of 100 times -5 plus -3. This is my direct translation. Again, I could have using decimal form. This would also work as the translation. Simplifying it. -5 plus -3. I owe 5, I owe 3. So that's -8. Well, dividing both by 10, I have 3/10 times -8 over 1, -24/10, which in this case I'm going to simply write as -2.4. With percentages, we'll often be talking about money, and decimals will be a preferred form. With 15, what number is? Well, what number, there's my variable, is equals 35%. Well, remember percent is per cent, 35 out of 100, of multiplication 400. This is the direct translation. We'll be seeing these with word problems as well. Do the direct translation first, and then solving the word problem will be very easy in comparison. So here we just have arithmetic. 35 over 100. 400 is 4 times 100 over 1. So all I need here, scratch to the side, 35 times 4. Translation, and then evaluation in this case. 140 is 35% of 400, but all we're doing is that same direct translation. So do practice with this, because this is going to be crucial in word problems.